Awesome. Okay. So before we get started here, let's remember the rules of training. Remember your mic is off, your camera is on, and if you can't come off of mic or you can't turn your camera on, then go ahead, put a comment in the chat box and say what you're doing of why you can't have your camera on. But I want to keep everyone in the session, want to make sure that you're paying attention. And for myself, it's a lot better for me to be speaking to faces instead of a bunch of little bubbles on the screen. So appreciate you for keeping your cameras on. Thank you. So today's session, the main idea of today's session is what honors you. And so if you took that into a framework, it's your why. What honors you is your why. And so the truth about traits, habits, and real success in sales. And so I want to ask everyone a question here. What do you think truly honors you when you're doing sales or in life in general? Some people would say, it's my car. I have a really nice car. I worked really hard to get it. Other people would say it's my job. I worked really hard to be where I'm at, worked really hard to be able to work from home. Others would say it's my degree. I went to college for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 2 years. I have certifications in such and such field for what I've done and studied. Some people would say it's their sales career, how many sales they've made, how much revenue they've brought into a company. But to me, and to a lot of entrepreneurs and the top salespeople in the world, none of that is real. And the reason why we say that is because your why isn't about the possessions that you have or the achievements that you've done. It's about who you're becoming and what your daily habits and traits look like. So, section number one, if you like to follow along in the notes on the Slack platform, I pasted some notes in there. If you want to follow along, you can, but if you'd rather just listen and be here present, that's totally up to you too. So, section one is the traits that truly honor you. Now, what do you want people to know you for when you're not in the room? What do you want them to say about you when you're not in the room? Now, this doesn't go into caring about what people think about you, but it goes more into your subconscious. How do you want to be represented once you leave this earth or when you're not in the room? And so the traits of elite salespeople, if you look at the top of any field in any industry, the first thing is that they're not focused on achievements. They're not focused on how much money they make. What they're really focused on is the habits and the traits of who they are and their daily actions. So, number one would be they're disciplined and they're very hardworking. They make it an effort to show up for themselves and others every day. And whatever they have to do, no matter how they feel, they get to it because they're disciplined in the fact of who they are. It's in their character. Number two would be that they are resilient and steadfast, meaning whatever obstacles come their way, they're ready to face them head on and they see it as a way to improve themselves through some type of training, through some type of mentorship. They find it as a way to become a better person, to become a higher leader. Whatever it is, they are resilient in what they do. Number three is that they always hold a level of honesty and a high integrity in everything that they do. When they mess up, they call themselves out for it and they apologize. When they maybe not follow what they said they were going to do, they make sure that that's known. Or if things aren't going in the direction they expected, they make sure to let the people that they're working with know about that. Even if it's not in a situation of work, when it comes to family, and I've done this from time to time, where you promise something to someone or that you're going to go do something with your kids or you're going to go do something with a family member, and then something comes up and you're not able to make it or follow through. Well, at least you let them know, you reschedule it, you figure out a different time, maybe even a different day, And that's you holding a very high integrity in your character, not just in work to get results, but also in life so that you can exude that in all your interactions. Number four would be they take time to be reflective on themselves and they're mindful of their actions, their words, their thoughts, opinions, really everything about what they think and what they do. They take time out of every week to journal those, kind of reflect on what's working, what's not working, what they want to change, what they feel like they need to improve on, and they take that time to really assess what they want to do better the next week and what can stay the same. And without that reflection or that mindfulness, then they would honestly be running in circles like a hamster on a wheel. And so none of us here are hamsters. And so the ability that we have as humans is that we can reflect on all of our actions. And in that reflection, we can usually find what'll make us better the next time we do it. And then the last one, number five, is they're very smart and comprehensive, meaning this isn't about book smarts or street smarts or who you know or what you know. Instead, it's learning from their mistakes. They take the time to learn from their mistakes through the reflective number four and the mindfulness. At the same time, they're also learning from others' mistakes. They don't want to make the same mistakes themselves. So think about maybe your parents, think about your grandparents, think about maybe past presidents, think about maybe past managers, past coworkers, and think about the mistakes that they made before you. And then you look over and you're saying, okay, I know that was a mistake because I had a bad result from it. So I'm going to learn from that mistake and I'm going to use my comprehension and go in a different direction. So they're very avid learners of life. They're very avid learners of what's working and what's not working, and they build that into their character. So, a question that you can think about when you're going through the traits is think of someone that you admire, think of someone you want to model. Now, think about their success, think about who they are in life, the businesses they have, who they've helped, what they've done, everything like that. But the one question you should ask yourself is, did success make them that way of who they are and what they have now? Or did their traits and habits attract success to them? A lot of people, they see the end goal, they see what happens of the result. But what they forget was it was a bunch of habits and traits that led to them being successful and not the other way around. And so you want to think about what's one trait out of those five that you want to be most known for? Do you want to be most known as the person who always calls out their mistakes and high integrity? Do you want to be known as the person who can get through any obstacles and all obstacles, no matter how hard or how great? Do you want to be the most reflective person and the most mindful, meaning you're learning from all others' mistakes and you're very comprehensible? Or do you want to be the hardest worker in the room, the one who's going the longest hours, the one putting in the most calls, the one who's doing the most? Right? Or do you want to be a little bit of all five? Because the greatest in the world, they're a bit of all five. All five of those traits are very high on their scale. And so if you want to take a second and if you come up with that trait, I'd like to see what trait you'd like to be most known for in the chat. And so while you're doing that, I'm going to move on to section two, is the habits that back up those traits. Now, the habits that back up those traits is you don't need to rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So it's not how big your goals are. I want to make $1 million. I want to make 500K. I want to help 2,000 people. It's not about those at all, not your goals. It's about the systems that those goals are built on. And so when you look at elite habits, you're not looking at the quantity of what you're doing, but the quality of what you're doing. It's not about doing 500 calls within a day or two. It's not about reaching out to 1,000 people and blasting a million emails in 5 minutes. But what it truly comes down to is the the quality of those. Are you taking the time to personalize it? Are you taking the time to make it better? And then you look at it as number two being a one more mentality. Go past where others will usually stop. Go past where others would usually give up at. So a lot of people would say, when you look at the quality of your life and you look at the mentality of what you're doing, then what you're really looking for is, oh, here, 1 second. Got a call coming in. Let me move this. Okay, sorry about that. So when you look at your elite habits, and if you haven't put in the chat what trait you want to be most known for, then you want to go ahead and drop that, because what this does is it starts getting your subconscious into what we're talking about. It puts you in the present moment. So it's not just about sitting here listening or watching or reading. It's also about putting the action in, getting your subconscious on that same level. That's why I asked the question. So go ahead, put it in the chat if you haven't yet, and I'm going to continue on. So when you look at number three, number three of elite habits would be they seek answers themselves. They don't wait for questions to be answered. They're not waiting for someone to walk them through all the steps. They don't wait for someone to tell them, okay, yeah, go ahead, do that. They're actually risk takers. They're really big risk takers. And they usually try to use some type of resource to get the answers they need in order to move forward. And so there's a bunch of things out there, luckily in today's world, that can give you the answers in a very quick momentum to where you don't really need to stop what you're doing, but instead pivot to what answers you're getting from that resource. So think like YouTube, Google, ChatGPT. There's a bunch of things out there, even your own teammates and your resources that you have inside of the company, that will allow you to not just get the answers, but to keep moving forward. And so that's the biggest thing, is they're very resourceful and they seek those answers themselves. Then number four would be they create their success. They don't wait for the opportunity to come to them. They're the ones who are going out and they're making their success. They don't wait for that to come to them, because if you wait for success, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. You want to be the person who takes initiative over their goals and doesn't just wait for leads to be placed on their calendar, but also is the one who goes and finds the leads themselves. Maybe you have some event marketing you can do. Maybe you have some people in your network you can be talking to. Maybe there's businesses in your area you can go look at. Maybe there's some type of BNI group that you can be part of. Maybe there's some social media groups you can be. Facebook is there, Instagram, start a YouTube channel, make a self-branding page. There's a tons of ways that you can generate success for you on repeat. It's just finding which one works the best for you, your time, your personality, and what doesn't maybe take a ton of your resources. And so what you want to ask yourself is, which of these four habits should I build or start to rebuild this week? When you're looking at the elite habits 1 through 4, you want to ask yourself, am I losing the quality by doing too much quantity? Should I maybe pull back on how much I'm doing and focus on doing what I have on my plate a lot more better? And then another one would be, am I stopping where I feel tired, or am I going past that mentality of, all right, I'm going to do 50 and then I'm done? But is it that you actually have 33% more than what you think you're actually maximizing at? And this is a very science-based skill that if you know that you're tired, you know that you're kind of on the verge of quitting, then where you're actually at in maximum performance and output is only 73%. That means you still have about 27 to 33% more energy to give to that. And so you have to dig deep. You have to reach into your soul, kind of go into your subconscious and literally push yourself to go further. And that's where the one more mentality comes from. And then number three is looking at your answers. Are you waiting for your questions to be answered, or are you finding the resources that are available in today's world to be able to answer those questions yourself? You're not waiting for someone to handhold you, but you're going through and being resourceful. And then the last one is, are you using all of your time effectively? Right? Are you using all of your time to create success for yourself, or are you waiting for the opportunities to land in your plate and then capitalizing on what comes to you? Because the best go out and they create that success. They don't wait for it to come to them. So one more time would be, which of these habits do you need to build or rebuild this week? And so if you want to go ahead, throw into the chat, which habit would you want to work on this week? Which habit do you want to start working on next week? If you're barely getting to the sales calendar, or you're getting ready to go to the sales calendar, then go ahead, drop that in the chat, what you think would be most effective for your improvement. Because none of us are perfect. Even I, when I create trainings, I look at what can I improve on. When I go and I do sales calls or I do webinars or I put social media posts, I look at what can I do better. And so while you're doing that, I'm going to move on into section 3, from ideas to implementation. Because the truth is, if sitting here listening to me or listening to podcasts or studying the most books, if knowledge made people rich, then librarians would be billionaires. And that's a quote by Russell Brunson, who said, if knowledge alone made people rich, then all librarians would honestly be the richest people in the world. But that's not the main idea. The main point to that is, it's not what you know, it's what you implement that pays you. And so some good examples of this, or models of what this means, you can look at EMTs, cops, blue collar workers. They all know a lot. They know all the expertise of what their job is and what to do. But the market doesn't always pay based on their knowledge. It pays based on your applied value. And so what you want to look at is, you want to be real with yourself and ask yourself, know what honors you. It's in your actions. And the 5 actions that can really move the needle forward would be physical exercise. And when you look at physical exercise, you want to be getting at least 15 to 45 minutes per day, because the stronger your body is, then you're going to have a stronger mind. And sales is an emotional warfare. If you can max out your output in the gym, then what that's going to mean for you in sales is that you can easily get into that one more mentality a lot quicker and push yourself, because you already understand what it means to be resilient in the gym. And so another one for number 2 would be owning your word. And that ties back into integrity. And you can own your word, then what happens with your subconscious, because without you even paying attention, your subconscious is always watching you. And whether you do something that you said you were going to do, or you don't do something that you weren't going to do, what your subconscious is always doing and keeping a running tab on 24/7 is, do you keep your promises? Do you keep your promises to yourself? Do you keep your promises to others? And you want to push past done. And that's number 3, is when you look at when you're at maximum output, or you're very tired, or you feel like you're at the end of your rope, then you're actually only at 33% of your capacity. And there's always more gas in the tank. And a very big proprietor of this would be David Goggins, the person who we're reading about right now, who wrote his book. David Goggins came up with the rule, and he has about 5 world records in physical fitness across other things that prove to a science that when you feel like you're at the end of your gas tank, you're actually only at 33% of your maximum capacity. And so you have to dig deep, you have to understand your why, and you have to bring your soul out to the surface and keep moving past what you think is done. Then number 4 would be reading daily, taking 30 to about 120 minutes or 2 hours per day. And if you look at some of the greatest investors or the wealthiest people of all time, even currently in the world now, like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, etc., they read from anywhere from 8 hours a day. And even Warren Buffett was quoted for saying this. He said, I used to read 8 hours a day, but now my eyes aren't so good. So now I can only read for 6 hours a day. But the truth is, you don't need to read for 6 hours a day. You don't even need to read for 4 hours a day. 30 minutes a day would honestly change the potential that you have. And what that does is it brings knowledge that you didn't know before into your present moment. And that knowledge can change the course of your business. I can't tell you how many books I've read, how many courses I've read up on and I've watched. Even watching something like this can be subjected to that being your reading. And it honestly changes the course of how you run your life, how you run a business, how you interact with others, your daily habits, everything like that, because there's something that they know, and this is called humility. There's something that they know that you don't. And they usually can find that in a course, a book, or in some type of mentorship. And then number 5 would be you want to network like your life depends on it, whether that's cold calling, DMing, messaging people, following up. The goal that you want to have for networking like your life depends on it is you want to aim to meet 20 new people every single week. That's basically one per week. If you're looking at meeting 20 people per week, one person per week will pay you. And then another one out of that 20 will refer you to someone who will pay you. And so if you're constantly meeting 20 people per week, then what that's going to mean for you is that you're going to get one sale per week on top of getting one referral per week. As long as you're meeting those 20 and you make an effort to meet those 20 throughout the week. Now, a little prompt or question that you can ask yourself regarding these is, which one of these 5 do you already do? Which one of these 5 are you already really good at? For myself, it would probably be reading. It would also be getting in physical exercise and also networking. But something that I can really be better at, and I'm sure a lot of us might be kind of figures of this, but it would be pushing past the done part, right? That's really hard, that when you know you're at maximum output, to keep going, to have that mentality to keep going. And on top of that, making sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do, right? Some of us have really big dreams, we have really big goals, we have really effective habits, but sometimes we promise a little bit too much to our family, to our friends, to our network, to our clients. And so we need to reel it back and ask ourselves, which one of these will I commit to start doing tonight? Which one of these will I improve on so that I can improve everything else behind it, the habits and the traits? So you have your traits, you have your habits, and then your actions that affect all of that. So when you think about your goals, if you want to be a millionaire, you want to make over 200 grand, you want to own the biggest business in the world, you want to be the best customer service in the world, whatever it is, it's not the goal that makes you. It's the habits, the traits, and the actions that make the goal a possibility. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm running and I'm running and I'm running, but I'm still not able to perform marathons. And what you look at when they say that is, okay, you're running, but are you stretching? Are you taking the time to do yoga? What does your diet look like? What does your water intake look like? What does your sleep look like? What does your daily habits look like? Are you journaling those things? And then we can figure out, oh, well, they're eating processed foods all the time. On another side, they're not really journaling about their runs. They're just hitting the clock and then going out and running. Another side of that, they're only getting 4 hours of sleep every night. They're always out at the club. They're always out with friends. They're always partying. They're not taking the time to rest. Another side of that, they're not really keeping track of where their percentage of their maximum potential is at. They're stopping at 60% when they still have 40% left in them, right? So it's not just having the goal and doing one action to meet that goal. It's all of the things in between of that and making sure those are fulfilled. It's all parallels. When you look at it, it's honestly all parallels to each other that will make you towards the goal, not just making sure you're showing up to the calls, but what are you doing before the calls? Are you meditating? Are you reading your script over? Are you checking your price product? Are you printing out your price sheets and sticking them to your wall? Do you understand what your ideal client persona even looks like? Are you making sure that if the red flags are there, that you're calling those out? And so when you lose a sale or you close a sale, it's not just one action, one word, or one sentence that did it. It was a bunch of tiny micro actions that actually moved them forward. And so when you look at sales, sales will not reward you for your dreams. It rewards you for your patterns. And you want to ask yourself daily, does this honor me? Does this honor my future family? Does this honor my team? Because if not, then it's time to upgrade. And your why, what honors me, what honors you, that's going to be a very big driver of whether you have success or you fail. And all of the things that we've talked about leads to one final question. What will people say about you when you're not in the room? And does your behavior today match your vision? Does what you're doing right now, does what you're doing in your off time, does what you're doing in your downtime, when you rest, are you actually resting? When you sleep, are you actually sleeping? Or are you taking that time to focus on other things? Are you actually implementing a good habit stack into your day? Meaning, when the second you wake up, you know, all right, I'm not going to lay in bed, because some of us might lay in bed for 30 minutes to a few hours, and they're saying, all right, the second I open my eyes, I'm going to go brush my teeth. I'm going to go for a run. And right after that run, I'm jumping in the shower. Right after that shower, I'm eating breakfast. And while I'm eating breakfast, I'm going to put on an audiobook. While after I read that audiobook, I'm going to go straight into my product development. And then I'm going to go from my product development straight into cold calls and networking. Then I'm going to go and post on social media. See, and the habit stacks just keeps going throughout the day, right? To where if you're always focused on the next task and you develop the schedule like that, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at rep schedules and they're saying, well, Brian, I'm not having success. I'm not having the success. I'm like, okay, well, it's time for an accountability check. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, pull up your schedule. Let's see what you've been doing. Let's look at your activity. And then I'm like, I don't want to see the calls. I know you're doing the calls. What are you doing before the calls? What are you doing after the calls? What are you doing to get ready for those calls? And then I can usually find something. Okay, so before the calls, you're telling me that you go and you read. So what are you reading? And then it kind of breaks us down to, well, I'm not really reading, I'm listening to podcasts. Okay, so you're listening to podcasts. What podcasts are you listening to? Well, I'm listening to business development podcasts. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. You're listening to those, but do those actually help you right now? And then I give them a different podcast. Go listen to this one. This is actual sales podcast. Go listen to that. If You do like listening to things, listen to this instead. All right, what are you reading? Are you actually reading about sales, or are you reading about relationships, physical fitness, entrepreneurship, online media? And here's a book about sales, strictly about sales. Read this instead. Right? Or sometimes, and this happens a lot of the time actually, they say, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna say, go ahead. I don't judge. I'm just here to help you. They say, well, I've been watching TV. During my downtime, I go take that time to go watch TV, take that time to go play games, take that time to go get a quick smoke break, take that time to go see some friends. I'm like, okay, well, that's all good. It's all fine and dandy, but look at the results. Do you see the results that you're getting? And are you okay with those results? And about 90% of the time, they say, no, I don't want those results. Okay, so let's change this habit and let's put a more effective habit into there. And so we can get you the results that you're after. Because it's not that you're not doing the work, you're doing the work. You have the call quantity there. You're showing up. You look prepared. But before that and after that, are you actually doing the traits, the habits, and the behaviors in order to get the result you're after? For you today, if you, I know I kind of went fast through these and maybe we kind of showed up a little late, but I'm going to put the recording into Slack. I'm going to go ahead and leave the notes up for you. So if you want to go and watch the recording, maybe make your own notes about it. And these things are fun. These things are meant to be fun. And if you got to interact, then you got your subconscious to the next level. You got your brain to kind of administer what we're talking about here. And don't be afraid of being judged. We're all growing, we're all improving, we're all scaling every single day. It's not easy. If anything in this was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And then the rewards, they wouldn't feel that good. So appreciate your time, and I'll talk to everyone soon. I'll go ahead, Dana. I'll go. All right. Thank you.
I was looking for an emoji. Bye.
Appreciate everyone. Have a good day, guys.